It's just going in and out.
Can we,
Madam Chair, Lorraine, I'm going to call for a motion. The agenda was read into the record. Committee members, can call for a motion.
can you guys hear me now?
Oh, yes, we can hear you now, Madam Chair.
Okay,
All motion
perfect.
to
Sorry,
agenda.
okay, motion made by Vice Chair Otto So, second by Honorable Eugene So. Are there any questions, any comments, or any amendments that need to be made to the agenda at this time? Can you hear me, Lorraine?
Yes, Madam Chair, I can hear you.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
kicked
So
off
I did
earlier.
call to ask if there were any amendments that need to be made to the agenda. I didn't hear anything. So we're going to go ahead and proceed forward to the roll call vote. Sherelle, can you assist us with the roll call vote, please?
Can you
Yes,
hear me?
Honorable.
Delegate James.
Delegate Vince James?
Yeah, it's not that, I'd like to, if I'm still in order, I was trying to unmute, I had to call back in. I wanted to make a motion to, ask the committee to see if we could, hear the, legislation, first, and then afterwards go to reports. That would be my motion, Madam Chair Shannon. Thank you.
There is a motion, committee members, made by our colleague, Delegate Vince James, to hear the legislation before the report. The motion has been made. Can I get a second?
Okay, since it's
Second, made by Honorable Eugene So. Committee members, are there any other questions or any comments at this time regarding this motion? Not hearing anything. Lorraine, if you can, I don't think you need to read that into the record, do you?
Madam Chair, it's just, the new business 7 will go under, number 5. And then from there, we receiving reports will be number 6. And then,
Thank you for that, Lorraine.
okay.
So with that, committee members, we'll go ahead and, if there's no other questions or comments, we'll go ahead and proceed forward to the vote. Sherelle, can you assist us with the vote for amendment number 1?
Yes, Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Delegate James votes green.
Honorable Vince James votes green. Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote? Honorable Otto So, how do you vote?
there's also
I vote green. Thank you.
Honorable Eugene So votes green. Honorable Otto So votes green. Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton, you have 3 in favor, 0 opposed, 2 not voting. Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton not voting, and Honorable Edmund Yazzie absent, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Sherelle. So with that, amendment 1 does pass. Committee members, we're back to the main motion, and that's accepting the agenda. At this time, we do have 1 amendment made to the agenda. It has already been read into the record. Are there any other questions, any comments, or any amendments that need to be made at this time? Okay, not hearing anything, we'll go ahead and proceed forward to accepting the agenda with 1 amendment. Sherelle, can you assist us with the roll call vote, please?
Yes, Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Delegate James votes green.
Honorable Vince James votes green. Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote? Honorable Otto So, how do you vote?
Vote green.
Honorable Otto So votes green. Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote?
vote okay, so Chair.
Honorable Eugene So votes green. Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton, you have 3 in favor, 0 opposed, 2 not voting. Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton not voting, and Honorable Edmund Yazzie absent, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that. With that, committee members, we do have an agenda set before us at this time. We'll go ahead and proceed forward to the next item on the agenda, which is review and adopt the journals. We have 2 journals that need to be adopted, May 16th, 2022 and May 24th, 2022. Committee members, we can do this 2 ways. We can accept the journal separately and take a vote separately for each journal, or we can accept both journals at the same time, and that's May 16th, 2022 and May 24th, 2022. How would the committee like to proceed?
Delegate James here, make a motion to both journals. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that. A motion has been made to accept the May 16th, 2022 and the May 24th, 2022 journal. Can I get a second? Second call. There has been a motion made by Honorable Vince James to accept the May 16th and the May 24th, 2022 journals at the same time. Can I get a second?
Vote
Vice
okay.
Chair will second.
Thank you for that. So with that, a motion and a second has been established. Committee members, are there any questions or comments at this time?
Madam
Not
Chair.
hearing anything, we'll go ahead and proceed. Lorraine?
Oh, I was just checking to see if you're still on the line. It keeps going in and out.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, there has been a motion and a second that has been established to accept both reports at the same time. I was asking, are there any other questions or comments at this time? Not hearing anything, we can go ahead and proceed forward to accepting the journals. Sherelle, can you assist us with the roll call vote, please?
Yes, Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Delegate James votes green.
Honorable Vince James votes green. Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote?
Vote okay, so Chair.
Honorable Eugene So votes green. Honorable Otto So, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Honorable Otto So votes green. Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton, you have 3 in favor, 0 opposed, 2 not voting. Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton not voting, and Honorable Edmund Yazzie absent, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that. So with that, committee members, the journals are hereby accepted. We'll go ahead and proceed forward to item number 5. We are on new business, I believe. Lorraine, is that correct? Or did we go to old business? I know that the motion was made to hear the legislations first. So would that would be old business, is that correct, Lorraine?
Madam Chair, I just did the new business.
So it just goes straight to new business?
Yes.
So with that, if that is the case, then we do move forward to new business. And new business is legislation number 0021-22. We do have Delegate Kiellen Begay on the line with us here this morning. Lorraine, can you go ahead and read legislation number 0021-22 into the record, please?
Yes, Madam Chair. Tracking number 0021-22, an act relating to health, education, and human services, law and order, and Navajo committees and the Navajo Nation Council, amending the selection process for the Navajo Nation Veterans Administration Executive Director and amending two NNC subsections 1031, 1032, 1033, 1034, 1035, 1036, relating to the Navajo Nation Veterans Advisory Council. And this has gone through the 5-day comment. There's some attachments that are attached, which is the comments that we're supporting. It's one from Edward Wagner Jr., one number 2, Calvin Charlie, number 3, Northern Navajo Veterans Organization, and one comment is opposing from Billy Goodman Jr., and also another one from Paul J. George supporting the resolution, and then also comments and recommendation from Leo Billy, and another one is from Noslini chapter resolution that is also attached. Following that is Fort Defiance Agency Veterans Organization. There is a resolution FDABO-02-22-01 that's also attached and has gone to the Health, Education, Human Services Committee, and it was approved on or passed on May 18, 2022 with a vote of 3-0-0. And those are all attached to the document, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Lorraine. So with that, committee members, the legislation has been read into the record. Can I get a motion and a second for the legislation, please?
Motion.
Okay,
Second. That was
Motion made by Honorable Eugene So, second by Delegate Vince James. So with that, committee members, the legislation read into the record. We can handle one of two ways. We can open it up for questions, which will allow the sponsor to present the legislation, or we can proceed forward without answering any questions and proceed forward to the vote. How would the committee like to proceed? Committee members, we have a legislation before us at this time. We can go ahead and move forward without any questions, move forward to the vote, or if there are any questions, we can go ahead and give the sponsor some time to present his legislation. How would the committee like to proceed?
Madam Chair, I would like to hear the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you for, I'm sorry, Honorable Otto. So with that, Delegate Kealan Begay, your legislation has been read into the record. A motion and second has been established. With that, I'm going to go ahead and give you 20 minutes on the floor to present your legislation to the Law and Order Committee. Delegate Kealan Begay, the floor is yours.
Madam Chair, good morning, Nana. Ado Kodo Shananta, Law and Order Committee members, Sindigi, Shanaldo, Sildo, Shada. Ado Kodo Shanalisto Advisor, Ado everyone that's listening. Good morning, Nan Hidishni Dolis. In general, let me take about 5 minutes, Madam Chair, on all the legislation that I'll be presenting. They will all be similar, so every time I get to the next one, I'll just go in detail about it. So, in the during my last presentation at the last meeting, that I have been working with the current Veteran Advisory Council and also some other veterans before and during the development of these three legislation. And I'm not sure if the Office of Legislative Counsel is on the line, and I've been meeting with Office of Legislative Counsel on all of these legislation. Veteran Advisory Council, and the draft document, although we asked them, and I asked them, before we drop for public comments, have your provide your input and recommendation in these legislation.
Madam Chair, point of order.
Honorable Eugene So, you're calling a point of order. I'd like to ask what your point of order is. Honorable Eugene So, you called a point of order. What is your point of order?
My point of order is I thought we heard signal about your total that 3 in I want to go one per one if auto shows want to ask questions. I saw what signal behind on journalists. One registration per each item he needs to talk about. The time that the whole time not come. I don't know auto show credit yet. Thank you.
Is that Honorable Eugene? So Delegate Kialan-Bigay is going one by one. He's currently on legislation number 0021-22. I think what he's saying is that he dropped 3 legislations, all dealing with veterans, and he's going to be presenting all 3 separately. So with that, Delegate Kialan-Bigay, the floor is yours.
Madam Chair, I apologize for but what I was trying to say, Madam Chair, was that rather than repeating each of the legislation, I'm just saying that all these legislations were presented before the Advisory Council. Ado kodo yandast indo latoya hatahasi. Ado kodo ebebinachi kodo naspe ilni do ado public comment na dalia. Ado public comment, post Ilya for the 5-day comment period, I still went ahead and presented before several Veterans Agency Council, with arbiter presenting the ishla. So again, the overall, the forefront of this comment and statement that I want to make is that much were during the development that the Veteran Advisory Council and Veterans Agency and some chapters were informed of this particular legislations. And as you probably heard, that I've made presentation on the radio as well, KGAK and KTN and Hot present earlier. So just in general, I don't mean to confuse the process, but now let's go to PowerPoint presentation. If you have received it, or maybe if the staff can post it, view it for others to see. PowerPoint presentation. Again, the legislation but each of the PowerPoint presentation are labeled as which legislation they're pertaining to, as far as each PowerPoint presentation slide to give a The first slide, it does say proposed legislations relating to veterans, 21-22, 22-22, and 24-22. Of course, if you go on to the second slide, it says legislation 21-22. Now, just to be clear, Madam Chair, 21-22 has two parts. Na kiki senil go out Aisha. I could do at anigi the first part kishin ban hashnet do leto. Although the second part of the 21-22. I'm hoping I'm clear on that one as well. Shanant Anasindigi. Akoko the selection process kodo salafso alange yahsa tahaki jo e natil teke. To change the process of selecting the Navajo Nation Veteran Navajo Nation Veterans Administrator, Director, and then the Executive Director. Akoko, as you know, Director is selected by contract. Contract is Tana Hego. 6 years the legislation Belanda is in prior council. Ako Yankee at be on Nishkoko to add the Veteran Advisory, Veterans Director, the Administration Director, Ako Kodo Sahondo Ni. No na the proposed process. The proposed process. That's what the proposed process is right now. Just almost similar to selecting a division director. The process of it. So in general, part 1 of 21-22, in general, if you go to the third slide, it gives you the current process under Title 2 at 1031A. The Navajo Nation Council doesn't have a say-so in selecting the Veterans Administration Director for OPVP consultation with the Navajo Nation Veteran Advisory Council for 6 years. So that's the current process right now, because the council, the way it is that the process during the 23rd Navajo Nation Council, Navajo Veterans Administration Program was under one of the division. It was put under the Navajo Nation Office of the President, Vice President. The legislation amend process to Title 2 at 1031B. Step 1, if you look on slide 3, on your right side, if you're looking at it, step 1, Navajo Nation President nominates an Executive Director. The President will nominate an Executive Director. Step 2, Navajo Nation Veteran Advisory recommends the appointment. So meaning that the President will nominate, and if the Navajo Nation Veteran Advisory Council agrees and supports the nominee, the Advisory Council will submit a resolution to the HES committee, the oversight committee. Although once the HES committee supports it, then the legislation process will go to the full council.
Thank you. With an apple pie.
Madam Chair, but although once if that process, let's say for example, if the president nominee is not supported by the oversight committee, HES committee, or if not the full council, obviously they go back to step one, but if the nominee is supported, then the HES committee and the Navajo Nation Council confirms the appointment. So that's the general overall of part one of legislation 21-22 and serves at the pleasure of the Navajo Nation Council during the Navajo Nation president's term at a negotiated salary. Nabaka akoko jo kwaki yego saton ke slafton diniki kwaki hada once with the current process, once the executive director is working in terms of a contract, there is nothing much else that could be done. Although I chose not to look at the current contract, Joe, but I believe the current document is over at Legislative Council. So like I said, the full council will be involved, and once executive director is confirmed by the oversight and the full council, the appointee confirmed division director will be working at the pleasure of the Navajo Nation Council with the negotiated salary. I'm not sure if there's any question, but I'd like to go on to the second part of legislation 21-22. We're still on legislation 21-22, but we're going on to the second part. Maybe Legislative Council will provide a reason why they chose, I guess, to combine these two amendment process of this legislation. I did request that it should be a separate two separate legislation, but we're here now. The second part of the legislation, it talks about the Navajo Nation Veteran Advisory Council. Advisory Council. From each agency, then the NATO Sanako did each of the agency veterans organization. Of five, then one female and one male, and the composition of it. The establishment of the Navajo Nation Veteran Advisory Council. Amending Title II at 1031, 1032, 1033, 1034, 1035, and 1036. To Isiki Koto Sahoanadna, to Lesiki Epti Koto Nakikun Saaniki Dik Akaho Bishpan and Bishbisha Behes on Sahondo Nis Haninigit Ashanant Arno Seniki. So in the bullets at slide 4, the first bullet says that the Navajo Nation Veteran Advisory Council will now become the Navajo Nation Veterans Board of Commissioners. Advisory, the advisory Yankee Nachahadot Askoko. Navajo Nation Veteran Board of Commissioners. That's the intent of it. tuk adat ahit ait o advisory betet ni go dot IC sato hot ano joto jo ala dan shindiniki to ye go epitis tan len o a koben na go edik but title ki e sa ho to litro e siki now the composition of it so yen e sa ho to ni jo e to abi bakati the 10 membership, 2 from each agency, one with 1 male and 1 female. 8 that still will be the same. But ended to each of the agency veterans organization who they choose to send to be the representative to the Navajo Nation Veteran Advisory Council. So hopefully, again, like I said, Board of Commissioners, although what needs to be included in this new establishment of the composition, the key of the group, the key that an ex officio member selected from the Blue Star or the Gold Star family. Sato atha nahat akolon do leto sato alenan yalto leto piniya for a Gold Star mother and a Blue Star mother to sit at the table with the veteran commissioners. Sato alayan yalto list. Jot even ye sato paho ato leto kwake. Appointment process to serve on the Navajo Nation Veterans Board of Commissioners. The third bullet of the ex officio members confirmed by the Navajo Nation Board of Commissioners. Jo e kodot ape aj ye kitten nakako e kodor as like accepting within their own membership. Out of each of these composition of the Veterans Council, it will be 2 years. It's not that's going to change. Now, the meeting part took in the policy. They only meet quarterly. So just imagine, like Law and Order Committee, if we were just to meet quarterly, just imagine how much work that we would not be able to do anything. So maybe provide them a monthly meeting or a bi-weekly meeting. Just 4 times a year really is not accomplish anything on the progress for our veterans. At least once a month or twice a month meeting although the Navajo Nation Executive Director is no longer a non-voting member of the Navajo Nation Advisory Council, but functions as an advisory for Law and Order Committee members. Activities in conducting the meeting. Other advisor and Ms. Spencer, she just advises you on the proceeding, the process. In the Veteran Advisory Council, the advisor takes part in the voting process, but the policy, to change the policy, says that the Veteran Executive Director will only be an advisor. The council, the Veteran Advisory Council, or the proceeding, the policy, and the recommendations. The division, the executive director actually makes motions or votes on the total proceedings right now. Although if you go on to the next page, slide 5, this is the current outlay of the Veteran Advisory Council. As you know, 5 women and 5 men the change the second one if you go to the 6th slide, amended process for Navajo Nation Veteran Advisory Council membership the top 10 to 8 only the 5 females and the 5 males from 2 from each agency 8 IC and then of course the Blue Star Mother and the Gold Star Mother as a non-voting. So as
hold on, T. Allen. I don't. It's not. You need it. Nation. Nalle natlo. With your phone. I showed it. Proceed, brother.
Appreciate it, brother Shanta. But what like I said, I'm moving forward with this. But again, the ex officio, the Gold Star and the Blue Star Mother, they'll take part in every meeting, for their input and recommendation of any proceeding, maybe through policy, funding allocation, and whatever that they'll be discussing. The executive director and just like our current advisors, they don't take part in the voting process or any meeting proceedings, but more provide advisement and in the proceeding of a meeting. The current the commission, the executive director. Now, are you all on if you go to slide 7, continue authority of the Navajo Nation Veterans Board of Commissioners. And again, in a way, I'm not sure how this will, in a way, complicate. I did ask. That's the reason why I did say that the two parts of this legislation should be separate. But again, I don't. Like I said, I don't know how much time I have left, but I'll give some time to Legislative Council for their reason of this development. But again, the authorities. Bullet 1, recommend appointments of Navajo Nation Executive Director to Navajo Nation Council and Oversight Committee. That will be their authority. They recommend termination of the Executive Director to Navajo Nation Council and HES Committee with notice given to the Navajo Nation President. Commissioners Danliniki Jodi Nanishtohajo and Edo Hit Dojo Nanishi Pinti dates Adoka no Gokota to A Sato be Bohni Dole. John Lady, if you know what the first slide or the second slide that done by Hasiki to work at the pleasure of the council, John to A baby Nachiko Ecuador, the advisory the commissioners will have some authority to make recommendation for removal Dole. Although third bullet says the recommends to the HES Committee approval of the rules, policy, and procedures, and the Board of Commissioners and the Navajo Nation Veterans Administration in accordance with the law of the Navajo Nation. As an oversight committee, maybe Title 7 or Title 17, any other area that you oversight with the Kicho in Hikoto, you have authority to make recommendation either at the committee level or to NABI, if not to the full council, for any policy change. The veteran board of commissioners, that any policy that they work with, any policy relates to veterans, they'll have some authority to make recommendation to the oversight for policy change. The fourth one, the recommend policy revision, modification, concerns relating to veterans and veteran services with notice provided to the Navajo Nation President. Just like change of their plan of operation to plan of operation, baby on there's a plan of operation for the Veterans Administration, and there's a plan of operation for the Veteran Advisory Council right now. Hopefully it will be a Veterans Board of Commissioners. A plan of operation. They make recommendation to the HES Committee and to the full council, or any other policy. Although the last part, to review and make recommendation for funding and budget matters of the Board of Commissioners and the Navajo Nation Veteran Advisory Administration. Budget sometimes based on not but I think any budget process, because the advisory council, the one thing that the local veterans organizations always brings up is that for example, the current Veterans Trust Fund. I think that's one thing. The Veterans Trust Fund, I see the Veteran Board of Commissioners. They have a major role in budgeting and discussing the Veterans Trust Fund. Based on how much funding needs to be allocated to each of the veterans organizations, to the agency, and even the structure of the operation of the Veterans Administrations. Funding and budget matters of the Board of Commissioners, including the administration. So, if you go on to the eighth one, the Gito it just outlines how the current. I believe I forgot to switch out on this. I believe this needed to go to the first one before discussing, because this is the current one. Slide 8, the key is the current authority of the Navajo Nation Veteran Advisory Council. You have the 5 women and 5 men with the Navajo Nation Executive Director, Veteran Administration Executive Director, being part of this the meeting process. But again, the Executive Director position will only be an advisement position, though, in the current amended policy, though, I'm hoping if you go to slide 9, amended authority, again, the Oversight Committee and the Navajo Nation Council will take part of all the some of the process of a policy change, budget recommendation, plan of operation. Just like some of them will continue to stop at the Oversight Committee. For example, the HES Committee, and then maybe some only at the Budget and Finance Committee. I believe I've shared this with the full council during my initial presentation before the agency level and the chapter level and other public presentation. This slide but I'd like to give some time to the Legislative Council, if they are online, if they need to add additional information of what I presented. But again, they can stand by if there's any question, any legal question that they would have. Legislative Council Shin Kuto Sato of those legal questions to give, but nonetheless, I'll try to clarify further of any the intended purpose of legislation 21-22. So these are present isla do lieutenant no Slinigi do law and order committee members no Slinigi kudo. Again, this will go before Nabi, and then hopefully it goes to the summer session kudo based on anabitahan dot as in next month do what I kudo binye at ani to present isla do so Madam Chair, Vice Chair of the Law and Order Committee, this will conclude my presentation to the committee, and I'll stand for any comment or question of the legislation. I yield floor Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Honorable Gallon McKay, for policy that affects veterans. Okay, we have a motion in place and we have a second in place, and I'm going to chair the meeting for a while. And with this, committee members, is there any questions pertaining to the presentation that has been presented by Honorable Keaton Gay? Lorraine, can you hear me, first of all?
Yes, Vice Chair, I can hear you.
Okay. Also, for the record, Lorraine, Honorable Public Gay is on the line. So, it did with that. Oh, it did with that. Good morning, Honorable Public Gay. Oh, with that. So, not hearing anything from the committee members pertaining to the legislation that has been legislation 0022-22. I just wanted to get this information on the record so that it is presented to the committee. So just wanted to make sure that we do have that on the record, and the policy change by Hotline. So I really appreciate the presentation. And with that, I'm going to go twice again. Committee members, is there any questions pertaining to this legislation? Twice?
Hey, another.
3 times. Right. Sonata, you have the floor. Honorable Jin So, you have the floor.
Question. So a question then. So 이수고 예 아베 하듯이 무슨 그도 not 시키다. It's something that we don't really realize no more. That is that is the world has changed within the Navajo Nation in regards to our way of life back in the 18 and backwards, I reckon. My comment in regards to this, any legislation is the very quick conduction, recall, the hutch, see hot yard and shut down, fancy yard the whole. This is in the hard to waive anything. See just for the home and but that the critique of this scene. Two things I always think about. One is ladies, female. If Kadain she odd between music or then she stop between things change. And she can't the age can go a. So the comedy odd or yaki bahas tea Angle Iliada Adelia. Father be Hadeliaki, be it technically the net anani or police stay. He's going to start producing, he's going to start giving birth. It a be Hadelia, as Anit. Father the passing so a Bahas Kitty. Les Stonegate is the net national to national organ Bahach. Harlocodot and then sexes in sexes of Ada. This are about doing sexes or issues. Even Nashiko 8 or 8 Lahana and desk. I hot Elia. In the Yahaki, Yahaki is a part of the way of life. The spiritual way of life, and a in harmony. In it with the all of them. Hard away it only, away because it or it are in that case only. In that case, is positive and harmony. Everything has to be good. Good I be Hadelia. They are the God or the sheep of us, but Chunda Honana or a Jana dot art. But a Hadadelia and later is I genre on a shadow, a positively. Negatively, in all yeah. A question sad, we be misinterpreted. Could argo a yahadet a all young lady, non practice a husband. But not that a you cannot go to school and learn those things. It has to be lived from the day you're born and even before in your collective unconscious. The sheet I was young or 80. The sheet a topic not all or even Canada. Even now, some of had changed and now a lazy go date what are not part of Shane acid of has and their hala had issued us say so, whatever she's going to smell, hear, etc. They had it on this. They had it a couldn't harm at saddle, it's only Canada on it. What argo is chin I can't hardly heavy it out another don't need. Away in the holy. On the own, they got on these days, there's a lot of division. There's a lot of kids that are not listening to us. 4 years, saying that listening, our kids has becoming our enemies. Some places we can't even go out after the sun goes down. But our interest has it's even your son about Hudson because the lady the other you see in Nassau area the non-linear Nassau list although it has a clan 8 Nassau list 8 of hard on me as long as this family has a girl in the family no matter where they go around the world or somewhere else they'll be living as long as there's a lady in that family that lady is going to be always in that, and maybe a Sanjikin or a Twitter cheat. It's just going to be always like that, no matter what the blood quantum has become. Even now, even now, many we don't own nothing. كيسيتا خاطرشين إسيتا but should be has on has it to a shitty mister but other be talking should be your need again hard but he at any clinic I can't need clinic but I go has street on this I just to let you know that there are things changing we don't live no more in the old ways because we can't so we need gutter right now we can't do it it's not changed out area. It is over 100 similar. I'll be a lot of veterans out there, they are more traditional. Bahnata, those are Bahnata, I say, those are parts of the houses and parts of the house, you know, though, not I cannot see that. Baby's been sexy because though ain't the yard, Lego pay is neat on this. I've been sexy, long I cannot shield, I had a rock or a facing each other's bar aid or your between eye. Lego net. The stage other cases. So it will never let go. The enemy is going to be always there. For you, the kid not the enemy followed them back and they died in that regard. At the end, they killed it. At that time, that mess, not a suicide. But that's that. So it by me, it as what he has on and lay hard. He could in his whole God. Because these are something shit that's our ship and hills needs a continent clinic, never charging about hot chin. Not on what our navigated the initiate of the aid or the unique shader. But us at the end has our veterans. I wanted to live freedom. That's what all I wanted. I wanted a family. That's what all I wanted. It's given to me. This here it is because I fought for it. There's no price on it. There's no price on it. There no kid has on it. Has no not a kid or no veterans. So I'm not against veterans or I'm not against ladies or I'm not against or the thing the all shit has snagged and the radio. This is a whole argument Chinese said that the has seat on be 70 next month. It Chanel do sit Shinado Kasun died a pound. I don't the shit that I not so me that in the though they can't assume and this day we really need to help a lot of people that are in need. Horses, even though we don't have enough money for them, we try to scrounge a few pennies here and there. It is share for this. And in any case, that. I want to address your thank you, Shanala.
Thank you very much, Honorable Dean So, for your comment there. I'm going to take it as a comment for the case. So, I think we did not and latest tweet and the now nothing la sunny and the time and day is different and it beg go catch and shit hold just string what the hold committee members of Law and Order Committee, any questions to the sponsor of legislation 0022-22 at this time? I go once, I go twice, and 3 times. See, Sherelle with roll call vote.
Okay, Honorable Eugenia Charleston, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Honorable Eugenia Charles Newton votes green. Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Falcon James votes green.
Honorable Vince James votes green. Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote? Honorable Eugene So votes green. Honorable Edmund Yazi, how do you vote? Honorable Edmund Yazi, how do you vote? Honorable Vice Chair Otto, you have 3 in favor, 0 opposed, 2 not voting. Honorable Vice Chair Otto not voting, and Honorable Edmund Yazzie absent. Vice Chair.
Thank you very much. Motion carries. 3 in favor, 0 opposed, and Vice Chair not voting. Legislation 0022-22 moves forward to the next standing committee. AJ, what's that? Moving
Vice
forward
Chair.
to the next agenda.
Vice Chair,
Do you hear me? Yes.
this is Lorene. That legislation is 00.
Do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. The legislation that was voted on is 0021-22.
Okay. Let me correct myself for the record. Legislation 0021-22 moves forth with a vote of 3 in favor, 0 opposed, and Vice Chair not voting. Moves on to the next standing committee in line, and that is Navajo Committee. Thank you very much, brother. Moving forward, next legislation number 0022-22. Sponsor Calvin McGay is on the line, and I get staff to read this into the record.
Okay, Mr. Vice Chair, tracking number 0022-22, an act relating to health, education, and human services, law and order, and Navajo committees, and the Navajo Nation Council, amending 2 NNC Section 1033 to establish a program manager to administer the Veterans Housing Program. And this has gone through the 5-day comment process. There is comments supporting that are attached. One from Calvin Charlie, the second one from Northern Navajo Veterans Organization, and comments opposing is from Marie Zarwin, and another one from Frida Johnson. Those are all attached, and one is from Untitled Chapter Government. Following that is Fortified Agency Veterans Organization, and then the Health, Education, Human Services Committee report with the due pass 300 on May 18, 2022. Mr. Vice Chair, thank you.
Thank you very much, Lorraine, for reading the legislation 0022 into the record. And the sponsor is on the line, Honorable Calvin McGay. And again, I'm going to go back to the committee. Is there any questions to this particular legislation 0022-22 at this time? Because if not, I'm going to go ahead and proceed and go to the vote. On what?
Call for the question.
Okay. Calvin McGay, you have a question on the
Shinali.
legislation. You have 20 minutes.
Point of order,
to
now.
present. Eugene So, what's your point of order?
I said I'm calling for the question. That means go to the vote. Thank you.
Okay. Let's move forth, and there's no questions to this to legislation 0022-22. With that, Terrell, move forward with roll call vote.
Honorable Vice Chair, we don't have a motion in a second.
Okay, let's establish a motion. Motion by Eugene So. Second motion.
Charles Newton will second.
Madam Chair will second the motion, and let's go ahead and proceed to roll call vote then. Terrell?
Okay. Honorable Eugenia Charles Newton, how do you vote?
Charles Newton votes green.
Honorable Eugenia Charles Newton votes green. Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Delegate James votes green.
Honorable Vince James votes green. Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote?
Thank you.
Honorable Eugene So votes green. Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Vice Chair Otto So, you have 3 in favor, 0 opposed, 2 not voting. Honorable Vice Chair Otto So not voting, and Honorable Edmund Yazzie absent, Vice Chair.
Thank you very much. Motion carries. Legislation number 0022-22 moves forward to the next standing committee in line, and that is to the telecommunicati committee. It passes in a favorable vote of 3 in favor, 0 opposed, and Vice Chair not voting. Thank you very much, Mr. Honorable Kealan McGay, for presenting these legislation here at the Law and Order Committee. Moving forward down on the line, legislation number 0024-22 is the sponsor, Kealan McGay. Oh, he's on the line. So Honorable Kealan McGay is on the line. With that, could I get staff to read the legislation into the record?
Thank you, Vice Chair and members of the Law and Order Committee. Tracking number 0024-22, an action relating to the Resources and Development, Health, Education, Human Services, Budget and Finance, Law and Order, and Navajo committees, and the Navajo Nation Council, amending the Navajo Nation Veterans Trust Fund at 12 NNC Section 1176 to create separate business unit numbers when funding Navajo Veterans Organization. And this has gone through the 5-day comment. And there are comments attached. Comments supporting is from Gilbert Platero. The second one, Northern Navajo Veterans Organization, and Ronald Roy. Opposing is Marie Zarlin, and comments recommendation from Eugene Marshall. Those are all attached to the legislation, and one from Frida Johnson, Eastern Navajo Agency Veterans Organization, Nash City Community Governance Veterans Organization, Housing and Chapter Government, and has gone through the Resources and Development Committee. The committee report is attached, and it has a due pass with no amendments, which was on February 25th, 2022. Also another comment supporting from Fort Defiance Agency Veterans Organization is a resolution FDAVO-02-2203 is also attached. And Health, Education, Human Services Committee report with a due pass with no amendment and dated on May 18, 2022. Following that is the Budget Finance Committee report. Was also attached with the due pass without an amendment on June 7th, 2022. Mr. Vice Chair, thank you.
Thank you very much. With this legislation, the sponsors on the line, Honorable Kealan McGay. The legislation has been read into the record and call for a motion.
Motion, Delegate James.
Motion by Honorable James. Seconding motion.
Casey.
Seconding motion by Honorable Eugene Sugg. With that, is there any questions to this particular legislation in relating to the Veterans Trust Fund, the amendment to the Veterans Trust Fund? Once, twice, 3 times. Don't hear anything. That I'm going to go ahead and proceed with roll call vote. Honorable Terrell, go ahead, proceed with roll call vote.
Honorable Eugenia Charles Newton, how do you vote?
Charles Newton votes green.
Honorable Eugenia Charles Newton votes green. Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Delegate James votes green.
Honorable Vince James votes green. Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote? Honorable Eugene So votes green. Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Edmund Yazzie votes green. Honorable Vice Chair Addo, you have 4 in favor, 0 opposed, and Vice Chair not voting, Vice Chair.
Thank you very much for the voting. This amendment has this legislation motion carries 3 in favor, 0 opposed, Vice Chair not voting, and then moves on to the next standing committee on the standing committee listing. With that, I'm going to give a little short time to Mr. Callan Begay.
Senator, Madam Chair, Law and Order Committee, appreciate the time, and we'll continue to make a presentation before NABI and then the full council. So, in Chicago, thank you very much. You all have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much. With that, going on to the next item on the agenda, legislation 0092-22. Could I get that legislation read into the record?
Mr. Vice Chair, just for clarification on the last vote, it's 401. Thank you.
Okay, let me correct that for the record. The last vote for legislation 0022-22 or 0024-22 vote is 4 in favor, 0 opposed, and Vice Chair not voting. Yeah. Moving on down to the next legislation 00-0092-22. Sponsors on the call, and can I get staff to read the legislation into the record?
Thank you, Vice Chair and members of the Law and Order Committee. Tracking number 0092-22, an act relating to health, education, and human services, Law and Order, and Navajo committees and the Navajo Nation Council, amending 15 NNC subsections 302 to 308, the plan of operations of the Navajo Nation Labor Commission. This will be moved forward to Navajo, and attached are the Exhibit A, which is the amending plan of operation for the Navajo Nation Labor Commission and program number 101014, resolution number NNLC August 5-2021, and has gone through the 5-day comment process, and there is one comment and recommendation from Lynette Bonner, CEO, TRCHCC, is attached. And following that is the Health, Education, Human Services Committee report. And if we do pass with no amendment, dated May 18, 2022, with a vote of 400. And another recommendation from William A. Johnson, NNGE, and it's a letter also attached to the legislation. Mr. Vice Chair, thank you.
Vice Chair, I can take the chair now since you are the sponsor of this legislation. Thank
I
you.
turn the gavel back over to you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. So with that, committee members, legislation number 0092-22 has been read into the record. At this time, I do need a motion and a second for this legislation.
Oh, very soon.
Motion made by Honorable Eugene So. Can I get a second? Committee members, I will need a second.
I'll go ahead and second that, Madam Chair. I believe I'm in order. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Vice Chair Otto. So with that, a motion and a second has been established. Are there any questions regarding legislation number 0092-22? Not hearing anything, we'll go ahead and proceed forward to the vote. Sherelle, can you assist us with the roll call vote, please?
Yes, Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Delegate Jan votes green.
Honorable Vince James votes green. Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote?
Oh, no, there's a show.
Honorable Eugene So votes green. Honorable Otto So, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Honorable Otto So votes green. Honorable Edmund Yazi, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Edmund Yazi votes green. Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton, you have 4 in favor, 0 opposed, and Madam Chair Charles Newton not voting. Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Lorraine. So with that, committee members, legislation number 0092-22 does proceed forward to Nabikiyaskit. So with that, committee members, we now proceed forward to the next item on the agenda. Because the motion was to hear only the legislation, we're going to go ahead and go back now at this time. And just for clarification, Lorraine, are we going back to reports at this time, or are we going to old business? Lorraine?
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the Law and Order Committee. So after 5, you did the legislation under new reports, A, B, C, and D. So you go to number 6, receiving reports. Madam Chair, thank you.
So with that, we are now at receiving reports. We do have a report from Division of Public Safety and Department of General Education on how they are keeping our schools safe due to the recent shooting in Texas and what is needed since budget session is coming up. We do have Division of Public Safety that introduced themselves, and they are on the line, as well as Doty. They are on the line, and they are ready to present their information. So with that, committee members, I will need a motion and a second to hear the report.
Vice Chair, a motion.
Motion made by Honorable Vice Chair Otto So, second by Honorable Eugene So. So with that, committee members, I'm going to turn the floor over now to Division of Public Safety and Doty. You both have 20 minutes to present your information. So I'll go ahead and turn the floor over to Director Delmar, and I believe that we have a representative on the line with Doty right now. So I'll go ahead and turn the floor over to you at this time. You have 20 minutes.
So, Madam Chair, and the committee, Chairman Daniel So, Citizen AIC, Naishna Behansi, and we're thankful for that. And the handling in Citizen Behansi, Salah, but Citizen. Ano bahihilne do hotel bahihni sensto do salab nisto. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair, for this opportunity. It just so happened that the President's office did propose the same question to us as to what we're doing daily in preparation for unfortunate circumstances as it happened in the state of Texas recently. We were prepared to make a statement to OPVP yesterday. It was postponed to another date, so we didn't get a chance to do that. But we were prepared to make this presentation, and But we're here today, this morning, to tell you about what we're doing. A lot of preparation, there's a lot of trainings involved in circumstances like this. Pretty much from our side, getting prepared for things like this. I call upon the commander, Emmett Diazzi, to help me out with this presentation. There's a lot of things, a lot of trainings that take place daily from our side in preparing for this. So I just want to assure the committee that we train for this. Let me at this time give it to Commander Emmett Yazzie to talk about
how we're preparing from our side. And we did some exercises before with the school districts, and we'd like to continue doing this. So at this time, Madam Chair, I'd like to give it to Commander Emmett Yazzie.
Thank you, Director and honorable delegates. It's my pleasure to present to you of what we are doing here on Navajo. I am an active shooter instructor. I am also a subject matter expert in firearms and also defensive tactics. I'll start off with a definition of what is an active shooter. Active shooter is an individual actively engaged in killing or attempting to kill people in a confined and populated area. In most cases, active shooters use firearms, and there is no pattern or method to their selection of victims. Of course, with the 22 unfortunate victims in Texas that happened recently, you know, there's always unfortunately been active shooters, not only in schools, but also in businesses. I went to a rigorous active shooter instructor school, and the program is called TAC 1 Consulting, also known as Lone Wolf. I'll break it down a little bit for you guys before I get into the clients that we have here on Navajo. So there's two different kinds of responses that we engage. We have unarmed response, which is usually going to be the staff and sometimes the kids, and then some security officers, only because they're not armed. Then an armed response would be us, when we are going in and hunting for the killer or killers, and we engage and we try to stop that shooter as fast as possible. And of course, they're the murderers of our kids and staff and employees. Their primary objective majority of the time is to rack up as many bodies as they can. And so it's very important for law enforcement to get on scene, and we change our whole tactic as far as how we introduce ourselves to hunt down the shooter or killer. And so at a minimum, we want one officer to, at a minimum, two officers to be going into the building. There's no more waiting for a SWAT team. There's no more waiting for commander or, you know, somebody higher ranking to give us instructions. Once we know where the shooter is at, the first officer that's on scene, second officer on scene, they make a quick plan and then they enter to stop or neutralize the shooter. So currently, we have been traveling the reservation actively so much during the pandemic, but before the pandemic, we have trained the following schools and businesses. Ganado Unified School District, we trained the teachers and the staff. Mini Farms School District, we also trained the staff and the administrators. Rock Point Community School, we did the kids and the staff. Shanto Preparatory School, we trained the kids and also the staff. Kienta Boarding School, we trained the staff. Kienta Hospital, we trained the staff. And then the judicial branch, the Navajo judicial branch, we also trained employees of the judicial branch, the courts. At Chinle, we trained the Chinle Unified School security officers. The Ned College, we trained the Ned College School security officers. I also did a active shooter response training for the Navajo program for self-reliance. at their annual conference. Just a couple of months ago, I trained the Winter Rock School District bus drivers. Chinle Police District, all of their police officers have gone to active shooter response training. Winter Rock Police District, their officers have gone through active shooter response trainings. Kayenta Police District also have gone through active shooter response. And then I've also done Chinle Chapter House, the AmeriCorps staff. So there's many programs out there that are trying to teach the concept of run, hide, fight. We have a company out there called Alice, and then we also have another company out there called Alert. So one of the biggest differences between my instructions and how I teach and how Alice and Alert teaches is that Alice and Alert, they will train any civilian. You don't have to have any kind of law enforcement background. So they can pretty much train a secretary or a custodian to be an instructor in that field. But when you are making, I think, life and death decisions, especially on how to train staff and sometimes even students of how to engage or stop or neutralize these shooters, I think it's important that we input some of the different concepts. So when I do active shooter response trainings, one of the things that I also teach on and expand upon is weapons identification. So what's the difference between a handgun? What's the difference between a semi-automatic rifle? What does an AR-15 look like? What does a SKS look like? And then also ammunition identification. How is that important? Well, it's really important for the responding units. So if we know that a shooter is using a 9mm handgun or a 45 caliber handgun, I don't need additional equipment on me to respond to that. My current soft body armor that I wear underneath my uniform shirt can stop those rounds. But if I know there's a rifle in the building, like a 223 rifle, or a 308 rifle or a 30-06 rifle, those bullets can easily penetrate my soft body armor that I'm wearing. So I would probably have to respond to those high caliber rifles with armor that's going to stop, which is probably going to be a rifle rated armor to go into that building. So that isn't going to be important for our response. The other thing that I think that is unique is how I do the trainings is instead of just running blindly out of the building, I actually teach them some law enforcement concepts or techniques of how to clear like a hallway, how to exit out of a room. We teach them how to do quick peeks. We teach them how to do slicing the pie. And then how to properly barricade. We teach them where to hide. We don't hide in deep corners anymore. If you got any of the background of the Texas shooting, you know, one classroom, the teacher had the kids all just lay down and just pretend that they were asleep. And unfortunately, that's where they all got killed, is all these little kids just laying down in the middle of the floor, pretending that they were asleep. So I think basic firearm knowledge is important. The difference between cover and concealment is going to be important when we teach our programs, not only in the schools, but also I think it's important that we have businesses or even the Navajo Nation government partake in some of these trainings. I probably about 8 years ago, I was fortunate enough to do 2 classes of active shooter response in the new employee orientation. But since then, administration has changed, and that those new employee orientations for active shooter response was taken off, and we don't train any of the new employees active shooter response anymore. So I think one of the biggest ones that kind of where law enforcement response changed was after Columbine. And of course, the schools, they always kind of bring out the biggest notices as far as, especially when kids are involved. But back in 2007, Virginia Tech actually had probably the most unfortunate killing of innocent individuals. Virginia Tech had 33 students killed and 17 were injured. And Sandy Hook Elementary, they had 28 that were killed and 2 that were injured. And, you know, we also need to address the business side of it. Back in, I remember I don't remember exact year, back in 1984, 85, San Ysidro, the McDonald's also had a mass murder happened, and he shot 21 people at that McDonald's. We've had school shootings happen on reservations. If you haven't heard of the one that happened on the reservation, it happened at Red Lake, Minnesota. And a 16-year-old, I forget his first name, but his last name was Weiss. He took his he killed his grandfather, and he killed his grandfather, who was a police officer, a reservation police officer. And then he took his grandfather's police weapons, drove to the school, and then he killed 10 at the school. So it is happening all over. And of course, the closest one that I think we've had is here near Farmington, is in Aztec. And so I'm going to turn over a little bit of time to Donnie, and he had an active role in how the response happened or occurred at Aztec near Farmington, New Mexico. So if you have any questions for me, I'll be happy to answer those questions after Donnie presents his information as far as what he's been involved in with active shooter response. Lieutenant Key.
Thank you very much, Mr. Donnie. You have the floor.
Thank you, Vice Chair, and thank you, Commander Yazzie. Thank you, and good morning to all the Law and Order Committee members and everyone in attendance here. I am Donnie Key. I'm a lieutenant with the Navajo Police Training Academy. And just as Commander Yazzie had mentioned, prior to coming to work with the Navajo Police Training Academy, I spent 20 years in law enforcement on the New Mexico side of things, working with the Farmington Police Department for 15 and a half years, and then the San Juan County Sheriff's Office for 4.5 years. In that time period, I worked quite extensively with schools in New Mexico and a few schools on the Navajo Nation. I also served as a school resource officer for the San Juan County Sheriff's Office for a few years, and was a certified school resource officer and had the ability to work in and with the schools in that time. And so the one thing that I will say with preparation and in anticipation for these terrible events that happen in the schools is it boils down to relationships between emergency services, not only law enforcement, but mental health, emergency medical services, the fire department, and the police department. Relationships between them and the schools are really what help to get schools and communities prepared for these types of events. Having been on duty and in the area as far as the Aztec High School shootings, we learned a lot from that event. I had been working with the Aztec Municipal Schools District prior to that for a few years, and they were very progressive in their approach to school safety. A lot of the things that they did on the prevention side of things helped. Unfortunately, we still lost 2 students that day, but because of the amount of preparation, planning, and training and cooperative effort between emergency resources and the schools, I think that really led to the low number of individuals hurt, killed in that incident. Schools and police department relationships are unique in that you have all kinds of different schools within your communities. We've got Bureau of Indian Education schools on the Navajo Nation. We've got state schools. We've got charter schools. Just all kinds of different schools reporting to different governing bodies. And so when it comes to school safety, I've learned that when it relates to the individual schools, it really comes down to the mindset of the school administration and school governing bodies on how serious school safety is taken and how much emphasis is placed on it in preparation, training, and response. In the grand scheme of things, the overall response, the police department's role is relatively limited when it comes to active shooter response when it comes to schools. Limited in our the first response portion of it, usually lasting. I think Columbine, it was one of the longer ones, and now we're talking 18 minutes. Aztec High School started and was over in 6 minutes. And so in that 6 minutes, the police department is responsible for a lot of things. Scene management, resource management, and a lot of coordination. From the Aztec school shooting incident, we learned that most of the work involved in these types of events comes after those 18 to 6 minutes. And so with Navajo Police, we are somewhat limited by manpower in our constant and daily involvement with schools, which is a necessary part of the prevention side of things. But I think that there are some things that we can do to help the nation, Navajo Nation overall, be better prepared for such an event if we have one, if we ever have one come to the Navajo Nation. I mentioned all the different versions of the schools, BIE schools, state schools. There's a lot of different schools on the Navajo Nation. The one constant, though, between all the schools on the Navajo Nation is the emergency response resources that are going to be there to help should this type of incident happen. And that's going to be our fire departments, our emergency medical services, the police department, mental health, and then the relationship and cooperative effort with the schools themselves is something that's going to be the constant in any school that we go to. In Aztec, post-Aztec shooting, in all the lessons that we learned and some of the efforts that were made after the shooting, some things that were very successful for us in San Juan County, New Mexico, was the approach of a coordinated effort through the use of a Safe Schools Committee, which brought schools together of similar size and the resources and outside resources as well, not only emergency resources, but outside resources. And in that collaborative effort, we were able to come up with things like reunification plans, other things such as threat assessment teams, an anonymous reporting hotline for somebody who wants to report somebody who's having problems, whether it's bullying, an impending fight at the school, or an active shooter threat that was communicated. There's a hotline, another hotline that we were able to establish, and which led to investigations. And so there's a lot that we could probably do on the Navajo Nation beyond what we're already doing, and some of the things that Commander Yazzie has already mentioned in Navajo PD's efforts. And a lot of this stuff is going to be forward thinking and making sure that the right people get together in order to make this happen. Safe Schools Committee would be a very important thing to probably explore. And then other things such as legislation when it comes to tougher laws for individuals making school threats or threats against governmental buildings. Currently, I think what they typically look at is a criminal nuisance charge versus maybe a law that is more specific to making a communicating a threat to the school and making it a severe penalty for doing that act itself. On the investigative side of things, I think the hotline itself would be a very important thing for us to look at, as well as what role the Safe School Committee and the police department and all our other partners could look at as far as preventative programs, dealing with things like suicide awareness and bullying, things that are really a lot of the root of the problem when it comes to active shooter mass killings. Those types of things are things dealing directly with the kids that are having issues prior to anything like this happening is something that we really, I think we need to look at as well as a community, as a nation. As far as some of the things that are needed as it pertains to the budgetary season, I think most of...
Hold on. Hold
Yes.
on. Time's up. 20 minutes. Committee members, if it's a consensus, I could grant another 5 more minutes to the presenter. What is the wish of the committee? Committee members of Law and Order, what is the wish? You want to grant the presenter 5 more minutes, or go ahead and proceed with Q&A?
Grant them 5 more minutes.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm going to take this as a consensus and moving forth. So proceed with your report, another 5 more minutes.
Okay, and so there is a lot of other things that we could do in order to help better prepare the Navajo Nation for this type of event. I want to make sure that we give some time to Department of Education to give are they included on this on our report time as well?
Thank you very much. Education, you have the floor. Office of the Net Education, you have the floor. Going once. Office of the Net Education, going twice.
I'm trying to unmute. I finally got to the unmute button. Okay.
Oh, yeah, it's Dr. Begay. You have the floor. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, Ali, the Law and Order Committee. Just very quickly, I want to mention that I'm coming from the school sites. I've been out in the schools for many, many years, different capacity. I'm speaking again after now. I haven't been out there for about 4 or 5 years now, but I've dealt with many of the issues that is mentioned here. We've had a police officer fatality back in 1976, I believe it was, at one of the elementary school in Tuba City. In another district, we had a person come on campus with a rifle going after another staff member. We had sniper shooting reported at another district. We had a bus shooting at another district bus. And so a school, they have the captive audience. There are a captive audience in a school, in a bus, in games, various events. So as far as school sites, public schools and the Navajo Nation tribally controlled schools, the state schools in Arizona, Utah, New Mexico, there are statutory requirements which schools have to comply with. Statutory requirements in the form of law, statutes on what they call emergency preparedness plans, which have to be updated every year. So that is a priority with many schools. And again, these are on an annual basis. What is required in all of that are a lot of training, professional development, and drills. And in school sites, the security supervisor is primarily responsible to work as required by statutes with the IHS or the health, public health services hospital, with the Navajo Police Department, with the DPS, Department of Public Safety from the state, as well as fire department. And each school sites by law, they are to have first responders, a list of first responders by school sites. And they have to go through training that is required and drills, school site drills, evacuation drills.
Please resend. Could you please resend?
Hold on, Dr. Begay. Somebody's saying, please resend. Please mute your phone. Star 6. Press star 6, please. If you can't mute your phone, press star 6. That's all we're asking. I think we've been on committee calls since the beginning of pandemic, and we should all. God Allah, someone muted me. Anyway, please mute your phone. And moving forth, Dr. Begay, move forward with your report.
Oh, thank you very much. And again, school sites are to have what they call emergency preparedness plans, which must be updated every year. And school sites, they work with the county, they work with the state, and with the Navajo Nation, as with the previous reports here, as reported here. And again, these are from the county, the state. They have professional trainers. If need be, they can call on external companies, corporations who specialize in these areas, school safety plan. And what we're doing right now from DOTI is establishing what we call a portal reporting that just to ensure that school sites are compliant with the statutory requirements. With the BIE schools, they have safety plans. They are called continuity of operations plans, or COOP, continuity of operations plan. And the BIE facilities office, they review their COOP plans for both tribally controlled and BIE operated schools. And at this point, I know from experience, from fact, that schools need to upgrade their infrastructure in the form of technology, safe schools technology. Many schools are underfunded, understaffed for these critical area for their school education system. And so this is, again, the extent of my report here as far as DOTI is concerned. As I mentioned, part of Cognia, the accreditation agency from DOTI, they have reporting requirements from schools, which includes a little bit of this school preparedness plan, but these are not on an annual basis. These are, again, spread over 2, 3, 4-year period for observation and reporting, but we're looking at annual reporting just to ensure that schools are complying with their statutory requirements for safe schools, and that they have the technology available to even improve the school safety to a much higher level. So that's the extent of my report. Thank you very much. Questions?
Thank you very much, Dr. Begay, for adding on to the report given by Officer Yazzie and Officer E, and behalf of DOTI. So, with that, we have a motion in place, and we have a second motion in place. Committee members, is there any questions to the reporting body pertaining to the school safety issues on the Navajo Nation? Going once, going twice, going 3 times. We don't hear anything. First of all, Lorraine, can you hear me?
Yes, Vice Chair, I can hear you.
Okay. Well, before I'm just going to ask a few questions, and once it's answered, I'll go to roll call vote. Since community members are not asking. So with that, I guess in general, the collaboration between public safety and schools and DOTI, what is the current, I guess, relationship between the programs or the police department and with these schools, whether it's DOTI, whether it's a tribally controlled school, or whether it's a public school or BIE school? If something of this nature happens, and I really like to use the public school as an example. We have public schools usually trying to contest tribal jurisdiction. Tribal jurisdiction. You don't have authority. For instance, there was one where Navajo environmental health wanted to do the food and kitchen survey, and I believe this is Tuba City Public School, and they have declined. Told the Navajo Department of Health, environmental health, that they can't do that. They're going to get their own, and they're going to go to the county. But it was a jurisdiction. But the school is 100% on tribal jurisdiction. A lot of these jurisdiction issue is usually contested by the state schools. When a situation of this nature occurs, and you have a school contesting against tribal sovereignty, like what Wonder Unified School District did, and then you have Gallup School District also that contested tribal sovereignty. And these areas where the jurisdiction is on Navajo, and I know that in this case, usually law enforcement would unify. What would happen in this case if you had a school that just contest said, no, Navajo Nation, you don't have that, but you only have the Navajo Nation police station nearby? You know, what is the collaboration for schools like this? Because a lot of these issues shouldn't happen. And I'm just trying to bring this up so that we can shed light to this. And I'm glad that Dr. Begay is on the line, because this, we need to start spreading that information out to the public schools out there, because no matter what, wherever, if one of these should happen on the nation, if that most likely Navajo law enforcement won't be there. And I know that law enforcement doesn't look beyond boundaries of jurisdiction, but when it comes to issues of this matter, you know, when you have one school saying, Navajo, you don't have jurisdiction here, but in the midst of it, you know, they call the Navajo Nation PD and say, hey, we need help over here. So in a way, I look at a public school contradicting themselves. So I'm going to turn the floor back over to, I guess, Dr. Begay, if you could answer this for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable, also on that question. In my experience, a lot of this has to do with the superintendent that is at a school site or a district site. When I was over at Tuba City School District as superintendent, we've gone through these types of situations addressing the very serious matter of life safety of the school and the community at large, and then also the food service question. With the food service matter, we dealt with both the county and the Navajo Nation in a very cooperative, collaborative relationship. And so although the jurisdiction was brought up, but both the county and the Navajo Nation and the school district from my end, we worked it out very well. We worked this matter, realizing that this is a very important priority with the food service status and delivery and so on. So it really depends, in my experience, on the superintendent of a school district. Now, with the life safety matter, that is so serious that the jurisdiction is quickly resolved, and these are resolved in conjunction, again, from the school district with the superintendent's directive or priority, with the security department and school principals. They work closely, very closely as required by law with the police department, with the Department of Public Safety, DPS from the state, with the hospital, with the fire department, and with the community for what we call a reunification site. And again, they have first responders names training that is required by school sites. And so they're very closely monitored and they work very, very closely together. And that's been my experience as a superintendent for Tuba City School District. Oh, that's Nanda. I don't know if
Vice Chair Delmar.
Mr. Delmar, you have the floor.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I appreciate Dr. Begay being with us. I think the key is statutory requirements that he's been mentioning that has that all these schools, regardless if they're state and BIE schools, he mentioned the statutory requirements that has that we need to be prepared. Commander Yazzie did talk about some cooperation with some of the schools and business districts across the Navajo Nation that we are training with. thirdly, I want to mention that this is real. We've received threats before with the schools. And there's been some arrests that were made near the schools of firearms possession. So I'd like to give some time to the chief of police to talk on this matter as to what is real currently right now with the Navajo Nation. Just to let you know too that, and let Dr. Begay know that we are the primary law enforcement agency on the Navajo Nation. Chief, do you want to talk a bit about some more as to what we have currently and what we respond to daily?
Chief Noon, you have the floor.
Yes, good morning, Vice Chair, Madam Chair, members of the Law and Order Committee, and everybody that's online today. So the relationship that we have with schools, I would characterize as a great relationship. And most of the relationships are really held and conducted on the local level. Currently, just to give you an idea of what we're looking at on Navajo, we have an agreement with the Central Consolidated School District up in the Shiprock, Newcomb area for an SRO program. Now, we've had to pause that program because of issues that are happening in Shiprock that have taken a lot of our time and efforts, with the jail situation, with retirements. But I'm pleased to report that we're looking better at staffing, so that relationship is back on the table with the school resource officer agreement. In Chinle, because of our staffing levels, we were not able to provide an SRO program, but fortunately, Apache County stepped up and they currently run a school resource officer program for the Chinle schools. And, we are there as a support for them. I know in Tuba City, they were running a program with the staffing that they have, which basically resembled SRO for the day, when trying to get officers in the schools. But I haven't, there was one issue that came up. We did have a school that did not want our officers on site because they felt that having uniformed armed officers on the school grounds presented this negative visual to the community that, the school is not safe. So, we're still I think we're still working through that. I understand their perspective, but I don't believe that it was the view of the entire community. So as far as the relationships go, we will work. I don't really care, who represents the school. We'll work with any school. Staffing allows, and I think that Lieutenant Key brought up a very good point in the fact that I think what we need to do is develop a safe schools committee, regardless of if it's a state school, BIE school, or whatever. We come together. And of course, you heard in Commander Yazi's presentation of all these different training programs that are out there, that have all these different acronyms. For Navajo, I think we ought to develop our own. We have the subject matter experts that can put together a training curriculum, and we do a consistent school safety program which employs a response to active shooters. So as far as relationships go, other than the fact that the one school, they weren't comfortable with uniformed officers on site, our relationship really is really well with all the schools. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And I really wanted to expand on that because we have schools on the Navajo Nation that are state schools that are contesting tribal jurisdiction, and you just alluded to one chief that didn't want officers on the premise. But if something happened in real time, I think somewhere we have to start putting holding these schools responsible for it, because we are the primary law enforcement within the region. And I think if they don't want law enforcement, the Navajo Nation services, we need to look at getting it on record so that they have something to sign. So if law enforcement responds to it late and so forth, if anything were to happen at that certain school that declines Navajo services or doesn't want officers on the school premise, you hold the school responsible themselves, because the key thing is statutory requirement. And that should allow Navajo to flex their jurisdiction, whether it's on a state school, BIE school, or tribally controlled school, and even a faith-based school, because a lot of these things that happen are very, very tremendous out there, because it impacts families. Earlier, you alluded to one school. I think 26 people or kids or individuals were shot. They were killed. And, so forth, if these protocols and the dialogue the dialect is not in place for communication, there's a communication breakdown by the school. Glad there's a few members of HES on the line, because Health and Human Service Committee, education is in, and on the last council, I always indicated this: if a state school is on tribal jurisdiction and is on the land withdrawal base, we have control 100% with jurisdiction. At times, like I said, some of these schools will try to contest tribal sovereignty, and tribal dollars based off of our kids. Bureau of Indian Education dollars are funneled through those public schools and makes them what they are. With that, committee members, is there any other questions to public safety at this time?
Another.
Honorable Eugene So, you have the floor. Move forward with the question.
从这个开始大家哦，你看这哈那那个只有16number one， 我你好，对了。Okay, so your have been said. I believe that needs to be dropped for really identifying safety or defense. Although there's something that needs to be done also. I mean, they want for the legislation, but been talking about it refers to weapons. They don't know about it. The Navajo Nation outlaw assault weapons. PEBA Lebanon, Lebanon, they got 100%. Although the hollow point bullets, they are tranches. I believe that needs to be considered also the first time we can make our own laws. We are a sovereign nation. Arizona says how our need to check the law, all kind of stuff. operator has operated audience that specific the kind of the yawn and wrong. As don't hear how you drop. So like they're loading daily weapons, different kinds. They are going to wear this one, today I'm going to wear that one. Maybe M16 or AR-15 or AK-47 or 47 or 89 or today, Monday, that's Tuesday, that's Wednesday. That's how we're living today in the United States. God, ما هذه خالتي وعندهم control. I don't know what the heck is following the William Hatney or Chong is of these eight. Other inmates for this other cheap or this. Also, that needs also to be dropped is the never threatening. Although that's on the holy sheet. There's that that case, and they're talking with you from to shut their registration out as well. Although in the GT party of Navajo, I think no matter what the circumstance, we just have to be ready. Day one, another king comes along. I requested that at any age, are we ready? I said that the other chief of police and also Dalmo, are we ready? Are we ready for what's going to happen? Because when you look at the shelf, there's no ammunition, there's no weapon, nothing. Somebody find these kind of stuff. And so the bulletproof system, right now. I don't know that you can order, you can put them together yourself. So it's very dangerous out there. That's why I want to know where Navajo Nation is ready. So that's heavy. That's heavy. You try to start chicken. Enough. But also the police department and the fire department and the hospital should be already there. This is not what happened down in Texas. The police department don't want to go in and kids are being killed inside and bleeding to death. And the time that collapsed was really, really something that, why this is not smash down the door or something. So these are the things that we're ready for. So that way, they should have, could have. So it had needed those. And those are the could have and should have had, not how you should live your life. It happened already. Go forward. And that's so every night, I think we need to start getting ready for it. So, and look at what's going on in Washington. January 6th, they're going after our democracy. So, do we have enough food out there? Do we have enough ammunition out there? Do we have the weapons out there? Stash away so anything happens, we got something. That's Aggie shit. Hard to say how is that ready? They got that, so that's some high now. This shut off. Aggie does all the rest of me to the own promise. The weather is like that now. So, now that the corner is just slightly that out of our treaty, cut all the shrubby legislation in the House. I think that needs to be looked at, and we need to push legislation forward and get something on the book, in the green book for children beyond their code. So it's time that we need to start thinking about our seventh generation. Or either basically that. I don't like these bandit stuff. Anybody for the last 4 years seems like to me. So it is out there for those speakers. I'm really concerned because I've got grandkids, great grandkids now. So that she needs to pass or power, she needs to pass and where they're going to head to. I wish I could do more longer to get some things ready for them. One phone, just case. I know that generation is on. It's your heart away. I don't know heaven until you see your great grandkids. The Navajo is on the go. So I know there's a lot of people that might be using only 9mm, but it might be a hollow point, or they would admit it themselves. Or you can use a knife, a sharp knife, and make a point at the end of the bullet. We should have those kind of weapons. Thank you. Another.
Vice Chair So, are you still there?
Good morning. This is Vice Chair Smith. I'm listening and maybe like to make a comment a little later. Thank you. Or a question. Two. Yeah.
Vice Chair, are you still there? Vice Chair So?
Lorraine, this is Delegate Charles Newton. I'm not sure what happened, but we can go ahead and recognize Delegate Raymond Smith at this time, and then we'll turn the floor back over to Division of Public Safety. Delegate Raymond Smith, the floor is yours.
Good morning, Law and Order Committee members, Chairwoman, and also Shanetta, Vice Chair Otto, and Shinai, Chair of the Law and Order Committee. I just got online and I was kind of hearing what is being said about school preparedness and what may take place. Hope that doesn't come onto the Navajo Nation, but we all need to be prepared. My question is, how do we coordinate with the schools, and how is the schools prepared for something that may take place? Because we do have schools throughout the Navajo Nation, whether it's private, whether it's public, or whether it's boarding school, that Hagen. What are the dialogues they have? Are they open doors to invite Navajo police to come in and provide a training, and the coordination with the counties too, because we have county officers, whether it's in New Mexico or Arizona or Utah. How do we coordinate with them, and do we have cross training with them and have understanding of their response time? Because sometimes we may rely on the county or the state to hold down the fort, or maybe even us when we get there to hold down the fort. Has that been talked about and dialogue on that? And how do we train our officers to be efficient? And I'm not saying they're not efficient, but just to be on top of situations, and everything's changing too. How does the school keep their I guess for an example, down at Sanders, there's that public school, and there's, of course, the high school, the middle school, and also the Chinese They have a visitor log, and they have that information there that you need to provide before you can go in and conduct business. But how do we coordinate with them? The other question too is, I know that Hudson has a sub office, and I keep hearing that it's open, and then next thing you know, you go over there, and there's somebody there, and and you know that we had a commissioners meeting here last Friday, and I asked the commissioners and folks there, I said, because sub office based on it, they said Ada, yeah. We don't know who's signed over there or what's going on. And I know that we have a new chief, Chief Noon. Congratulations for being our chief now. But these are the things that Hudson have brought forth, right? And how is that office going to be used? Because I'd like to have officer presence. I know that officers are not all readily available. We have probably under 200 now across the Navajo Nation, which is sad to hear, but it's true. Because the curriculum or anything like that is it's hard to get. Even the county saying the same thing, state saying the same thing. Having a hard time maintaining or recruiting new folks to come in and be officers. So those are the questions and concerns, and maybe it's time to really explore that and see how we can facilitate that. And as you well know, that some of the officers that responded didn't go in because they were told to stand down. Rangers are available out there, and forestry and fish and wildlife. Suppose they were tasked to go to that location and they were told to stand down, don't go in there, but those are the things that we need to really be aware of, and how do we address that? You see folks in uniform, and you expect them to at least, provide public safety. And I think that's what happened at one incident where it was they were told to stand down until, I guess, they were ordered to go in. I think that's really requiring cross-training and understanding. And that's why that Navajo Nation did their MO, cross, what do they call it, the post, and Navajo Nation post, for all our law enforcement to be equal and to have the same training and to be able to enforce Title 17, Title 14, Title 3, Title 19, resource laws, criminal code, and on the Navajo Nation. Those are my concerns and questions, and thank you for allowing me to bring these forth, and having Mr. Chief of Police, Mr. Noon, and present that to the concerns that I'm sure the concerns are probably all alike across the Navajo Nation. How do we address these things, and how do we go forth? Thank you.
Thank you for that, Delegate Regan. So with that, Division of Public Safety, I'm going to turn the floor back over to you at this time. And Doty.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to answer the first question from Delegate, so I want to have the Chief of Police talk about this and elaborate on some more. Is that your question is regarding training? And I guess the biggest question you had was, are we ready right now? And training is the biggest thing that we have. So I'm glad we have Lieutenant Lee, Commander Yazi on board on this. And yes, it is a concern to us. And considering the circumstances that we have right now, I think that we are pretty much prepared and ready as we can be. Chief?
Yes, good morning, Vice Chair, and thank you for the question. So whenever we attend training involving active shooter or any kind of threat to schools or businesses, typically the training includes county agencies if they're close enough to the area. I know that this summer we're hosting a series of trainings under the alert training that is going to include, to my understanding, McKinley County and possibly state police. So it is important, as you stated, that we're all operating off of the same playbook. And what happened in Texas was a black eye to the law enforcement community, and unfortunately, a lot of the problems stemmed from the head law enforcement official. And I mean, I don't want to go too much into it because I don't know all of the details, but I know that that was something that was very concerning and very frustrating to the community. And when I say the community, because of the news outlets and social media, I mean, that's everybody in the country. And, it's just as far as preparedness, when we conduct these trainings, like I said, I mean, we try to include a lot of our other public safety partners like EMS and fire and our dispatchers. I think that's one area we tend to forget about is dispatchers, and having actually somebody on site who can run the radio when all this chaos is going on. We do offer our dispatchers some tactical dispatch training, and they would be used for instances like this. So that's that. I think that answers, partly answers the question on coordinating training efforts. We do, like I stated, we do try to incorporate other agencies that may potentially be involved. And usually how that happens is dependent on the location of the training, because Navajo is such a large geographical area that, for hosting training in Twin Arrows, we'll invite Coconino County, Arizona DPS, and agencies like that to be a part of it. And what was the other question?
I think the other question was from Vice Chair Smith. That's another agenda item that we'll be going into on the manpower. To
Okay.
that area. Vice Chair or Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you guys hear me?
Oh.
Okay, thank you very much for that answer there. And we have an agenda that's set, and that's another agenda item that's coming for Nahatzi. So with that, any other questions to Chief Noon or to the matter of the police safety for the schools? Going once, twice, 3 times. Okay, Sherelle, move forward with roll call vote.
Honorable Vice Chair, if I can just make a additional comment.
You already called roll call vote. Sherelle, move forward with roll call vote. Thank you.
Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Delegate James votes green.
Honorable Vince James votes green. Honorable Eugenia Charles Newton, how do you vote?
Charles Hayden votes green.
Honorable Eugenia Charles Newton votes green. Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote?
Oh, that's so sad.
Honorable Eugene So votes green. Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Vice Chair Otto, you have 3 in favor, 0 opposed, 2 not voting. Honorable Vice Chair Otto not voting, and Honorable Edmund Yazzie absent, Vice Chair.
Thank you very much for this report, public safety pertaining to the school safety. Yeah, I don't, motion carries, 3 in favor, 0 opposed, Vice Chair not voting. With that, going down to the next item on the agenda, report B, report by Daryl Noon, Police Chief, Navajo Nation Police Chief, Navajo Nation Police Department regarding intergovernmental agreement with Nahat Commission Governance and Nahat Arizona, New Lanes, to occupy the building for the police officer. With that, before I move forth, I'm going to call for a motion.
Oh, there you speak another.
Okay, motion by Honorable So. Second motion? Going once?
Second by Charles Newton.
Madam Chair. With that, again, Chief Noon, you know that you have 20 minutes to present to this body pertaining to the issue matter of Nahat Atzil. And it is now 11:23, and your time is starting now. So I appreciate it. Chief Noon, you have the floor.
Good morning again, Vice Chair and Madam Chair and members of the Law and Order Committee, and Vice Chair Smith as well. So I got involved with this topic, I believe it was in 2019, when I sat down in a meeting with the late Daryl So and Director Delmar. When this issue was brought up and concern was brought to my attention. So from that meeting, I visited the site and got to tour the buildings that were being offered to Navajo PD to operate out of to provide service to the Newlands area. And it was my understanding, and I don't have all the details, that at one time we did have a presence down there, but something had occurred that it was unfavorable to both parties involved, and we slowly pulled out of the Newlands area. And so from that point on, when I brought that back and discussed with then Chief Francisco, we turned this project over to Deputy Chief Ron Silversmith, and he worked with the governing body in Newlands with DOJ to create the memorandum of agreement. And since he spearheaded this project, I would like to turn the time over to Deputy Chief Silversmith to speak on this topic.
Okay, thank you very much. Deputy Chief Projects, move forth with your report.
Yate, Ani, Madam Chair, Vice Chairman, LOC Committee. Although in the year 2020 had that Nahatadzi, but Ani Credo, the late Nahatadzi, the Kin late Salah Bassa Bataranba Bassa no ben ya Ade. Salah and Dodley no Kuban Yensi Credo Nahabe La Azle Kunal Sos intergovernmental agreement between the Hatzil Commission Governments and the Navajo Division of Public Safety. Wayne Lynch, Eunice Leslith, Honorable Jonathan Nez, our then Chief Philip Francisco, Mr. Delmar, Donle Chris Bavasi from O'Neill Office of Navajo Hopi Indian Relocation Office. Unfortunately, there must have been some issues with the language and the agreement. So a revisit those no ato yego banahin either with the O'Neill office or with Navajo Department of Justice, but I'm not sure if anything was finalized. And when we talk about in the midst COVID-19, the question sabi be khanahol jis ado kwaage ado bayata tien hit no kwaage just hashit at the the commission governance. I won't go into that, but that kind of halted a lot of our progress as far as additional facilities. No, which Azale and but was on the agent thought they need kid ado ben snage thought kwaage administration office and that got quite an honest. The plan was to perhaps relocate Winderot District to do a 24 operation down there, but quite oyo danstab na ado Diego bekit at is nista aja zail ens anaja obkete khido السشي جو آجة خات آشي خات إشيت عندها سلم شين دا آجة بتاه ناتي خات نو يسيب يندا تو كتو نال صوص دو اللي خات نيجي إجا هات عنده دي بجي إتالياجي بالنشكو ياهي ندو بين دات أو نشيجي بخات نات زويدو بكتها ستهد يهاتها كيدو أشلت نيت له بانيكي بانسيكي. Back then, I was the police captain for Winderot and Lee and Delcon district. So this was one of my projects, was to reestablish public safety in accordance with the relocation agreement to have at least one officer assigned to that region. But we were able to get one sergeant and 2 officers down there. Zashi Aside working a shift schedule. They snigi because so law budget das so they're each assigned a shift or an area to work. And to this day, we do have 3 officers assigned to the southern substation. They're commonly known as the 150 units with Sergeant, Delegated Sergeant Genevieve Morgan, Joseph Lucas Pino, Leroy Wilson, Bridget Dasso Ade, Natad Nishto, and they're each assigned a different shift. But the sub-office still lacks internet infrastructure where officers can remain there to do their reports. Ado naltsos is any da kwaage abata hoye o tatun hikojet beso do bahloda is naltsos is en ajlan do ketigi kwaage jo nanel e shin da kwaage ni beso nan tehigi kwaage sa aliyashi ade such ado na bigijin ko kwaage ade can you start with ADG Andy Benda and short Kundasala Ade Nahat Atzilo Newlands none other Kedahat Inigi Southern Substation is basically the title of that unit that works down there. And they also cover Manuelito, New Mexico, do Sayato area, do Lupton, Arizona, Houck, Allentown, Chambers, Wide Ruins, those Indian country areas. Le Satan le Klagatoja, others, Bananish, the ndagil ito such na nishkodlo. But they do have the ability to stay at the facility to do the reports. بجد دو ببيهت الزني إذا أن لي سبغات زنو تحكي أكون إياه دو أسلج. It's not a 24-hour operation until we actually identify some administrative office positions for that to at least do a daily operation where, you know, I get nothing yado kalido sala ikado nahigi I ba'alya goshi adi don nil konde ishi ana the not quite position established and on neho so question banda wheel na to quite adla sala lot in the juk at AIC taco that this kid. I think one of our reports to not just the Navajo Nation government, but is to the White House, Washington office, is the increase in violent crimes where such a nice law. But now this is kon le khaju shina but okay but not all what so quite beninado quite such a kinge na has tada konda quite abnoun dadlish. So until we actually get some administrative support staff to actually, at least, you know, as a receptionist to dispatch officers in that area, it'll be fully semi-operational during the day. Just ade sla ade kui hilt adle de ya benashkok do o ku nahda ade khit ade sahal le hada quage sla o ya bet akon the an has thought shna tani nafsini it keep nas it's not the thought yeah.
Vice Chair So, are you still on the line?
Thank you for the report. At this time, are there any questions from the committee members or the delegates who are listening in online? Lorraine, can you hear me?
Good afternoon, or good morning, Chairwoman. This is Vice Chair Smith.
Vice Chair Smith, the floor is yours for questions.
So, okay, Long Order Committee members, good morning. Chief Noon and Deputy Chief Smith, General Smith. In that's the hold on. He has allowed it's the other which they cut the days in this happening either here I don't know if the commissioners are on board with me this morning. But they need the initial meeting the city they not that on order and either. So Schneider Kitty, not so scrap, Daggy, much don't necessarily much. I just put all those if it's but we need it though. My sheets the basic is though easy that does it. I mean, now on that feature. So I just investment. I just Woodlawn kita han at these clinic they that kin basa the arch kin nas the bigi hun do neto I just woodlawn other than the kitchen and ARPA funds bond that's the phone it's also a beto kitchen and I see receptionist the dispatcher and punishment so a COVID-19 bin yeah Salado that DCA again they've been yet dated Perco Valley ambulance bit Shishan ambulance Lodo she got esto got the clinic Lodo they the other Banani Cinch and it doesn't more it so and the band so ARPA funds it doesn't be taught so I and the store machines can keep other internet meaning it I just ranger instead of employ yeah it does Tim Barner does it down with the other ranger office what about the no it has machines up for internet beat up put on the internet tabletop so services from tabletop upon it that's available it's a landline so maybe that can help on behalf of so and then you get internet then maybe we check that well, we don't want him to be sitting there all the time. Right? We can kill my total window. They can push they say told cheat days. I just back with it. Yeah, no, you know, she gave so and get a whole lot and that. Ești kiddo machine soy and degi IGA that the minigi ești do miso Lodo planani go that's the I don't know if they're with us Chairwoman that's these commissioners I don't know if they are allowed to say anything but I'm sure that I invited them if they were there if they're listening but that's the main concern and yeah, no.
Thank you for that, Delegate Raymond Smith. So with that, committee members, are there any other questions or comments at this time? Not hearing anything, we'll go ahead and turn the floor back over to Division of Public Safety. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Smith. As the Deputy Chief just alluded to just a while ago, we do have a presence out there in your area, and we do have some personnel assigned out there. But as you can see, and as you've heard just now, that there's other communities that we respond to as far as Klagito, Noyahatzi, into the area of Manuelito. But we're trying our best, sir, to address the concerns of the community from your area. Chief New, do you have anything else?
This is Deputy Chief Silversmith. Shanantai, Honorable Raymond Smith, the kin on hit another the our Navajo Department of Information Technology, NDIT, though our utility, Navajo Nation utilities in technology. we reached out to them to see if they can cover our internet and also our telephone lines through their programs. But eventually we were informed that that this was not a part of nation's property. So eventually we did explore tabletop and telephone company with New Mexico side. Are they vendors on Linigi? Are they the providers from that area? And also the propane. They bedellidigi quagelto asati chuna naztel de yadan hisno quage nasty also the quidishi kada dosla unda quage inhabited all no. So we kind of got entangled in a lot of contracts that 164 that requires a 164 process as far as Window Rock District's concerned. The Window Rock District really didn't have the funding to support the internet costs from tabletop as far as construction and infrastructure, propane, the propane, some of the utilities, appliances inside the facility had to be re-inspected and updated in order to reconnect a lot of the utility infrastructure. So a lot of those are still pending projects in order to get the sub-office fully functional. So as you know, it requires many months to get a lot of these processes going through OMB or OOC, or even just to get these contracts reviewed. So quaige tana di tabna ato yego qua sala banal social dol nishi ato yego yihineta. A lot of them use their personal hotspots from their own phones. Abe the peso. You can allow hotspot, but it really depends on the phone carrier that they each have individually that can support the network system down there. So I think those are some of the things that are pending on that project as far as utility infrastructure goes. Of course, the department has account numbers available for communications to debit from, but again, for the Nahatadzi to have access to it, I think there were some issues with that as well, as far as directly utilizing those accounts. So on hits ato yego bit at nishta asalaw be halot. And of course, sometimes chapters have this temporary workers, temporary employment. Be iskisin da sit she and handa kisalaw kinya haliado lislaw bakahon hada haneta be not de jondo. And a lot of the Navajo Nation EMS and fire department, I guess we have to have a separate meeting for them to answer for whether they have manpower available to have an EMS sub office or the Nahatazil Medical Center. I thought that's EMS or EMTs the halot akonde ishi asati banahunst in the shindeya. But this is really all the information I can provide as far as what Window Rock District provides. Lieutenant Felicia Williams is currently the delegated commander for Window Rock District. So she has been informed of some of the projects that have been going on with Nahatazil. I think what I'll do is instruct her to come down to meet with Nahatazil Commission if they're back in operation. I thought no, nado sto ada ada niya sto jo ba na hotish yeah.
Thank you for answering those questions and addressing the concerns. Committee members, delegates on the line, are there any other questions or comments at this time? Not hearing anything. I think we are ready to accept the report. Delegate Raymond Smith, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I know that you guys have a lot of other business to take care of, but this is really pending too. I just want to make the fire chief, not the fire chief, but the chief of police, and I think I heard Director Delmar's voice. That was him. But we're in a situation, Executive Director Delmar, I just want to present this data to Clinton Das Sesigi, Fire Department. I see don't get from Das Perco Valley Fire Department. They're more or less charging our people, and they're putting a bill out there. Data publishing it in Apache County. Apache County, no supervisors. So what data? They're not supposed to be charging. Only they charge out if it's outside their districts. Told me. With eye on that. So I think that this should be an avenue for executive director and maybe fire chief, and let's just sit down and see what we can do to alleviate that. When they get out, they had an intergovernmental agreement. They give you the bill. You get the bill. You don't have nothing to do with that fire. You get the bill. I just want to present that, and maybe I could meet with Mr. Delmar later on this, and Chief David Spas and Chief of that. Thank you, Chairwoman. Yeah.
Lorraine, can I respond to Vice Chair?
Madam Chair or Vice Chair, are you on the line?
This is Delegate Charles and yes, I do apologize. I was giving my report to the irrigation system, or the irrigation meeting here. So yes, if Director Delmar, if you would like to respond at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Vice Chair Smith, I did hear you loud and clear regarding fire services to the area. I'll certainly get with the Navajo Nation Fire Chief on the matter, and perhaps we could talk sometime soon, sir.
Committee members, are there any other questions or comments at this time? Not hearing anything. We do have Lorraine, a motion and a second was established for this report. Is that correct?
Yes, Madam Chair, there is a motion by.
Thank you.
So
we'll go ahead and
yourself.
proceed forward at this time with a vote. Cheryl, can you assist us with roll call vote, please?
Yes, Honorable Vince James, how do you vote? Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote? Honorable Otto So, how do you vote? Honorable Edmund Yazi, how do you vote? Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Delegate Chan votes green.
Honorable Vince James votes green. Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote?
Oh, that's true. So.
Honorable Eugene So votes green. Honorable Otto So, how do you vote? Honorable Edmund Yazi, how do you vote? Honorable Chair Charles Newton, you have 2 in favor, 0 opposed, and 3 not voting. Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton not voting. Honorable Otto So not voting, and Honorable Edmund Yazi not voting. Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Cheryl. So with that, the report is hereby accepted. Thank you, Division of Public Safety, for providing us a report and for answering the questions posed to you by the Law and Order Committee members. So with that, we'll go ahead and proceed forward to the next item on the agenda, which is old business. Lorraine, do we need to reread the legislation into the record?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tracking number 0089-22, an action relating to the Law and Order Committee approving and amending plan of operation for the Navajo Nation Police Department. This legislation was heard at the last meeting, and a motion was made by Honorable Evan Yazi, second by Altoso. And then amendment number 1 was made by Altoso, second by Eugene So. Vote not taken on the amendment, and the main motion has not been voted on. There was an amendment made on line 1, line 11, after D, insert Budget and Finance Committee, comma, Health, Education, Human Services Committee, and the rest will be the same, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Lorraine. So very quickly, do we have the sponsor on the line, Delegate Vice Chair Otto So? second call for the sponsor, Honorable Otto So.
Madam Chair, I think he's at a no service right now. He said he lost signal earlier.
Oh, sure. Okay, because I think, so I'll do a third and final call for Vice Chair Otto So. Okay, so let's go ahead and proceed forward to the next item on the agenda. We do have to schedule a work session with Minerals Department and Surface Mining Program. We do need a date. The time has been set at 10 o'clock a.m. and this is regarding primacy. So this was a request that was submitted to us by the Minerals Department committee members. I do need a motion and a second to discuss this item on the agenda. Second call for a motion.
Motion, Delegate James.
Motion made by Honorable Vince James. Can I get a second?
Okay.
Second by Honorable Eugene So. So with that, a request has been made, committee members. Look at your calendars. What date should we select for the work session with Minerals Department and Surface Mining Program? We can do a Friday in July if you guys are good with that. I think the options that we could look at right now is July 1st, July 15th, July 22nd. Oh, no, not the 22nd. We're going to be in special, or we're going to be in summer session. Or July 29th. So the 1st, 15th, or the 29th. Committee members? Okay, not hearing anything. I'll go ahead and select the date. Let's go ahead and do July 15th. Are we good with July 15th? Delegate Eugene, so did you say something?
Oh, July 16th, my birthday.
Then we'll go ahead and meet July 15th, so that way we can celebrate your birthday too. Gahesh? Okay, so with that, July 15th has been selected. This is, let's do a leadership meeting because I think that there's only so much that we can do at a work session, but a leadership meeting, decisions can be made at that point. So let's change that, Lorraine, to a leadership meeting with Minerals Department and Surface Mining Program on July 15th at 10 o'clock a.m. And this will be via teleconference. We do have a motion and a second established. Let's go ahead and proceed forward to the roll call vote. Sherelle?
Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Delegate James Green for Worcester.
Honorable Vince James votes green. Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote?
Vote okay.
Honorable Eugene So votes green. Honorable Otto So, how do you vote? Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Otto So, how do you vote? Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton, you have 2 in favor, 0 opposed, 3 not voting. Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton not voting. Honorable Otto So not voting, and Honorable Edmund Yazzie not voting, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Cheryl. So with that, the selection of the date has been made. We'll move down to the next item on the agenda, the joint committee meeting with Health Education, Human Services, and LOC for a work session. It does have June on here. Lorraine, can you verify, is this going to be July?
Yes, Madam Chair, it will be July. They were asking for it in June, but then, since, June is over with, so it will be July. And I'll have, Michelle Morris, speak on this, Madam Chair.
Michelle, the floor is yours.
Okay, good morning, Chair, committee members. My name is Michelle Morris. I'm the legislative analyst for Department of Health. And we did send a memo from Dr. Jim to both committees to request for a work session, a joint work session. And the intent of the request was to discuss an updated plan of operations for the Department of Health. And one of the items that is being updated or being proposed is the transfer of the emergency medical services to Navajo Department of Health. That's one of the items, in Law and Order Committee is currently the oversight for that program. So we wanted, we worked with our DOJ. We submitted the proposal documents to DOJ, and there has been numerous, I guess, program to program meetings as far as drafting the proposed amendments. Although the amendments are minor and it would primarily be relabeling the program under Department of Health. The basis for the requests for the update is because that program, along with Department of Health and Social Services, currently function under 638 contract under Title I and Title IV or Title V. And so rather than having 3 contracts specifically for each program, it was suggested to provide a change to put everybody under 1 contract. That way it allows for more room for improvement and negotiating to enhance both programs. So that's the information that Dr. Jim and the programs have discussed. So with that, Chair and committee members, that's our update. And this, I'm sorry, one more thing I forgot was the HES committee did have a work session on this topic on June 6th, and it was discussed, but nothing was formalized. Again, it's still in the discussion stages. And right now, the HES committee has other divisions ahead of us. So Social Services scheduled for a work session on their plan of operations later today. And they haven't indicated to us when they're going to have another follow-up meeting. So we indicated to them that we are also working with Law and Order Committee because that program currently sits under that committee for oversight. So we wanted to work with both committees to make sure everybody understood the pros and cons to it. But right now, that's where we're at. So, Chair, that's my update.
Thank you for that. So with that, committee members, there has been a request to schedule this meeting between Health Education and Human Services and Law and Order Committee. Do we still have Chair Daniel still on the line?
Madam Chair, no, he's not on the line.
Okay, then let's go ahead and select 2 dates that would work for us. July 1st and July 15th in the afternoon works for me. If you guys are good with that, we can decide which, you know, we can leave it to HES to decide which day they can, they want to select. Committee members? Okay, since I haven't heard anything, I do need a motion and a second regarding this topic.
Madam Chair,
members?
Vice Chair, can you hear me?
Yes, Vice Chair, we can hear you.
Yes, this was the first Friday. I think it's all good for us that day. So, yeah,
Vice Chair, you keep cutting out.
Yeah, I'm trying. I got back onto the signal area, so I'm good with the first. Thank you.
Then let's go ahead and schedule the meeting for July 1st, Lorraine. So can I get a motion and a second? Again, can I get a motion and a second for the selection of July 1st, 2022 with the joint HES meeting and LOC for a work session?
Motion, Delegate James.
Vice Chair will motion for a second.
Motion made by Honorable Vince James, second by Honorable Otto So. So with that, committee members, are there any questions or comments? If not, we can proceed forward to the vote. Okay, let's go ahead and do a roll call vote. Sherelle?
Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
A point of order, Madam Chair.
Point of order, Honorable Eugene So.
We just voted a while ago on the estate, and which one are we going to go with? If we vote on this one again.
We voted on the meeting with, we voted on the minerals department meeting. No, we voted on the minerals department meeting. This next vote is meeting with Health Education Human Services on the Department of Health issue. So with that, Sherelle, can we proceed forward with the roll call vote, please?
Yes, Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Delegate James votes green.
Honorable Vince James votes green. Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote?
Oh, Uncle Shane.
Honorable Eugene So votes green. Honorable Otto So, how do you vote?
Vote green.
Honorable Otto So votes green. Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton, you have 3 in favor, 0 opposed, 2 not voting. Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton not voting, and Honorable Edmund Yazzie not voting, Madam Chair.
Thank you. With 3 in favor, 0 opposed, Chair not voting, the date has been selected. Honorable Otto, so do you want us to come back to your legislation?
Thank you.
If not, we can go ahead and do a motion to adjourn.
I'm going to go ahead and let's just go ahead and move forward to adjourn, and we can address this at the next committee meeting. Thank you.
Motion to
Thank
adjourn.
you for that, Vice Chair. Motion to adjourn made by Honorable Eugene So. Can I get a second?
Delegate James.
Second by Honorable Vince James. So with that, motion and a second has been established. Cheryl, can we move to a roll call vote?
Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Delegate James votes green.
Honorable Vince James votes green. Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote?
Okay, go ahead.
Honorable Eugene So votes green. Honorable Otto So, how do you vote?
Vote green.
Honorable Otto So votes green. Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton, you have 3 in favor, 0 opposed, 2 not voting. Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton not voting, and Honorable Edmund Yazzie not voting, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Cheryl. So with that, we're hereby adjourned at 12:10. You all be safe out there. Bye.
Safe. Bye-bye.
I'm going out.